Hey, how's it going, Godzilla fans, kaiju fans, collectors, and just general people of YouTube? This is ChanZilla1964 coming back to you with episode 2 of our painting with ChanZilla. I think that's what we're calling it. But today we're going to be customizing our very own Tiamat figure here on the channel. Now, it's going to be semi-paint and semi-custom because we are going to be using parts from 2 Tiamat figures. So you're going to need 2 Tiamat figures for this custom. I have my other one right here. And then you're also going to need the following paints. You're going to need white, brown, yellow ochre, ultramarine, viridian, burgundy, and cosmos. And then you're also going to need some of your handy dandy brushes. Now, whatever brush you're comfortable with using, I'd recommend you use those kinds of brushes, although for these kind of more intricate details, I would recommend using some not wholly fine tip brushes, but brushes that are not so wide in the manners being like the brushes we used for the custom for the Godzilla -1 figure. But one rule I like to have before I paint my figures is I like to wipe them down before I paint them. It's just a good rule of thumb. Just make sure your figures are clean and that there's no dust or any sort of particles on them. So when you paint them, you're not missing anything when you paint them. Just wipe down whatever figures you're going to be using. For us, I'll show you guys in a bit here, we're just going to be using these 2 midsections for our poor second Tiamat figure here. But for Tiamat, the concept art for Dope Pope is what we're going to be going off of in regards to the paint and how she looks. Even though that's pretty much how she looks in the movie as well. But here's what we're going to need to do. We're going to take our Tiamat figure that we're going to be using, and we're going to put her off to the side over here. We're going to need her in a bit. Actually, if you want just to prep her, you can take off her tail, and it is ball joint. You just be careful to apply a little bit of pressure, and then she'll pop, your tail should come off. You do not want to ever just ravage the tail, because it is a possibility that the ball joint can break, and we wouldn't want that now, would we? Okay, so with the tail moved on the side over here, we're going to take our second Tiamat figure, the figure that we're going to be kind of putting off to the side afterwards, although you don't have to, and you'll see why in a bit. But you're going to want to take the midsection, the whole midsection over here, these 2 parts. You want to just, like same thing with the tail, apply a little bit of pressure, it should pop off. And same thing on this side, a little bit of pressure, just like that. Now, the reason I say you don't have to not use this figure is because now you can just put these parts together and you can have like a mini Tiamat, I guess you can say, or a baby Tiamat even. Look, isn't that thing kind of cute? Looks like it looks like a lizard now, actually. But yeah, you can keep this one on the side now because that's all we need was the 2 midsection parts pretty much. Now we're going to take these 2 midsection parts here. We're going to line them up with the body, and we're just going to pop them in to the body, and then pop this tail back on right here like so. Just like that. Should pop right on. And just like that, we have our Tiamat figure ready to paint. And she is fully concept art and movie accurate now. Because in fact her tail was essentially the whole length of her body, in fact a little longer. But this is just my Tiamat figure. I'd recommend you do what you would like with yours. You could just use 1 segment, or heck, you could get more Tiamat figures and do 3 segments. Would I recommend it? I would not, because that would just be a little more money from your pocket, but it could look cooler. With our Tiamat prepped and ready now, let's get on with the paint. And to start off with the paint, we're going to start with the base coat for Tiamat's body here. We're going to take our ultramarine and our viridian, And we're just gonna mix it till we're happy with the color of the body that we're gonna make the body. For me right now, I put equal parts Viridian to equal parts Aquamarine. I'm gonna take one of our stronger brushes here, just mix it up. Now we're gonna need quite a bit of this color. Don't be afraid to use a little more than you think you're gonna need. In fact, I'm gonna need a little more paint than this. So again, 1:1 Viridian and Aquamarine. Oops. So another reason why it's good to keep a wipe on hand, just make sure, wipe up any spills or anything. Then we're just gonna mix it till we get this nice color over here. For me, I'm happy with this color. I'd want her to be more of this kind of really deep seaweed green blue color. It's the best way I can describe it actually. But from here, I'm just gonna take this paint and I'm just gonna start over here with the face. Just start painting Tiamat's face like so. So, prep work we should have done beforehand, and I'm learning this as I go. You're gonna want to take the body segments apart, and you're gonna want to paint them each individually. Just makes the whole process a lot easier. That way you don't have things sliding around and whatnot. Just like that. I'm being careful not to get any on her eyes because ideally I would like to be able to see where her eyes are going to be for when I paint her eyes later on. Although it's okay if you're a little bit sloppy here. That's why I'm starting with the body coat first. That way, when we move on, we don't really have to worry about messing up all the small details. It's better to start big and then work our way to the finer details. Okay. And if you'd like, it'd be a lot easier and simpler if you took apart the body here, which is what I'm about to do in a minute, because, well, sometimes we can get a bit frustrated with these things. I'm just going to add a little brush of this blue over here too. Just kind of keep it a little more uniformed. Because we are going to have to paint these beige after. Now this step you don't really have to do, it's just this step I'm going to do though. From there, once you've painted the head, I'm just going to take the head here and try my best to be careful while I pop it off. I'm just going to put the head to the side, Tiamat, and then I'm going to start painting the body segments now. Alright, so I have the head done. Now I'm moving on to the body. Now you're going to do the same thing for the whole body pretty much. You're going to paint mainly this top part. Try your best not to get any on the fins. Although, yeah, I'm a sloppy painter, so bound to get some on the fins here. But where we primarily want it is on the scales. Mainly on the scales here and on the legs. Be sure not to miss the legs with this blue paint. when you have it about here, make sure you don't miss any of that now. But yeah, when you have the figure about there, you can put that on the side and start on these segments over here. Now these I find are going to be the easiest ones because you don't have to worry about the legs or anything. Although, it's just a matter of painting it where you don't get any on your fingers now. Even though I find if you hold it at the two parts where the joints are, it's a lot easier to paint. And you won't get much paint on your fingers. And as you can see at this point, I've pretty much given up on not being sloppy with the paints because it's inevitable. Although as I go along, I just got to make sure I don't put an excessive amount of paint on these fins. Because if I do, then the details would essentially sink underneath the paint, and we do not want that happening. No, we do not. Okay, when you get to the back legs, you want to make sure you did what you did with the front legs to the back legs. You just want to make sure you get all the paint worked in here with these back legs. And if any point during your custom you need to pause the video because you need to make more paint, don't be afraid to do that, because I am over here as well making more paint to finish off these last two pieces. Ooh, spilled a little bit more paint over there on the stuff too, on my table. Now, when you get to the tail, I find that it's easier to start painting from this back part here because you're holding the back and you just go in between the fins. That way, after you finish the difficult part of going between the fins and painting between there, you only have to worry about painting the rest of the tail, which you can most definitely paint full green, which makes it your job a whole lot easier, I find. Or at least for me, it makes it a whole lot easier. But whatever works for you, you do that. Remember, this is your custom. Nobody can tell you what to do with your custom. I'm just here giving you advice about what I do. And if you're having trouble trying to figure out what you should do, it's all I'm here for. And disclaimer, if I have not said this before in any of these painting videos, this is not a tutorial, but instead this is just kind of like a, how would I put it, a guide, I guess. Like, you don't have to follow it step by step, but it's here to follow if you want, because as you can tell, I am most definitely an amateur figure customizer. Okay, make sure you got the whole tail covered here. Very nice. All right. Now, for me, I have to go back over the head because for my head part, and in fact for the arms when I first painted it, it didn't come out as dark as I'd want it to, so I'm going to go back over this with this green here and cover any spots that I feel I may have missed. especially on the eyes. Okay, after you finish putting that first coat of paint on Tiamat here, I recommend that you wait, let them dry, see if you need to put a second coat on. If you feel that you need to put a second coat, mix up a little bit more paint and then put that second coat on. And then afterwards, after that coat dries and you're satisfied with your bottom coat for Tiamat, I recommend that you put a nice coat of primer on the figure, just so while you're going along putting the small details on it, the main paint that you have for Tiamat does not come off in any way, because it is a possibility that if you do not put primer, that the paint that you've already applied to your figure will come off as you apply more paint. Just some food for thought. But we'll be back in a moment here after I've done letting this dry and primed it. Alright now everybody, now that we're all back from letting our paint dry, or I'm sorry, our base coat dry for our Tiamat figure and priming that figure, we are now ready to move on to the pink parts of Tiamat. Or the parts that glow, his fins pretty much. For this, I'm going to be using this burgundy with Cosmos pink. Now for this part of Tiamat here, we're going to be using burgundy with a bit of Cosmo pink. Nice little glob of burgundy over there, and then a little bit of this Cosmo pink, and we are going to be in business for Tiamat right over here. And I'm going to take one of these thinner, flatter brushes to work on Tiamat's spines, or I'm sorry, not her spines, but her fins. Okay. And then you can make the color lighter or darker, it's wholly up to you, but for me, I like the color to be a little darker, and a little more of that burgundy showing, but not too dark, to the point where it looks like, well, it just looks too dark pretty much. Now I'm going to start with this burgundy over here and start on Tiamat's fins. Just like that. Just apply paint just like that. And keep in mind, for the fins, you might have to go over it with a second coat now, because of the darker paint contrasting with the lighter paint, it doesn't exactly mend well. So there's a very, very big possibility you're gonna have to go over this with a second coat of this burgundy paint mix. Oops. Now the exciting part for me for this burgundy paint, or this fin paint, is that we get to go over Tiamat's elbow fins right over here, which were not painted on the original figure, so now we get to do that ourselves right here. Now the figure's coming together real nicely. Just gotta be careful not to get any of this paint on the Tiamat's legs over here. That's all. And I almost forgot, for this burgundy paint, you're also going to want to paint in between Tiamat's hands Where's her feet? Right over here. Because there's a little bit of webbing, but I am going to add that little detail in there where I'm going to give it a little bit more paint. There's one part of the body done. Now on to the rest. Now last but not least, we have the tail fins over here. And then actually we're going to paint the tip of the tail too, I believe, if I looked at the concept art correctly at least. Oh, the tail here is a bit tricky just because of the angles. But it is nothing a little bit of patience and maneuverability cannot handle. So, yeah. Oops. Be careful there. And then for me, I want to paint the tip of the tail here because I know the tip of the tail has a bit of fluorescence. So I'm just gonna do that really quick. And I'm just going over the grooves. I'm not filling the whole tail itself, but I did want to add a little bit of color to this part of the tail. So, and then just like that, we have majority of the pink parts for Tiamat finished. Now we are probably going to have to go over this with a second coat. It's because of, like I said, the nature of painting over dark paints with the light paints. You're guaranteed you're going to have to go over another coat. But before we do that, I did want to touch upon Tiamat's her eye over here, because we are going to add a bit of eye paint for Tiamat, because she does have a bit of pink eye paint on, I believe, this part of her face, right around the eye, right over here, right there. In fact, I'm just going to do that right there. In fact, the horn right over here is what I'm going to make paint. What is what I'm going to make pink, I mean, with a bit of dry brushing. And then, yeah, continue it up to her nose. Okay. Then I think I'm going to go give a touch of pink to her whiskers over here as well. Just a touch, though, not too much. Not too much of this fluorescence coloring. But I am also going to give Tiamat's whiskers a bit more pink as well, just over here, at least. Just these whiskers right here, and these ones on the underside of her chin. The tips, at least, a bit of pink. Okay. As for the petals, I haven't quite decided what I want to do with Tiamat's petals yet, so I'm going to leave them alone. But pretty much that is where those colors belong. Now, same process as the body for Tiamat over here. I'm going to let this paint dry. For me, I might add a second coat. Up to you guys if you want to put a second coat onto her. But after I let the paint dry, I am going to prime her again. Or I'm going to put the clear coat on and then let that dry, and then we're going to jump into the finer details. And then afterwards, our Tiamat figure should be just about done. Okay, I'll be right back after I finish letting this dry and then clear coating this sucker. Okay, well, welcome back everybody. I hope that you had all successfully finished painting the fins for Tiamat and whatever other purple parts you thought deserve that nice purple iridescent color. And you had done the clear coat, because we're about to jump into the last little minute details for Tiamat here. Now, to begin this process, we're going to need our white and yellow ochre, because we're going to be painting these tan parts for Tiamat here, on the underside of Tiamat's belly, and then we're also going to be finishing up the teeth and all. Now let's take a little dab. Oh, that's a lot. It's a bit too much. A little dab of yellow ochre over there. Then we're going to take a big old glob of our white paint, because we need more white paint than the yellow ochre. We're going to take a soft, thin brush here. You take a little bit of yellow ochre and mix it into the white until we kind of get this nice tannish color right here that we have right here. That is actually a perfect color for our Tiamat figure. In fact, that right there is perfect. So yeah, you just need a tab of yellow ochre and a big old glob of that white, so you get that color. Perfect. Now we're going to start by brushing that color onto the underside of Tiamat here. Wherever you see any of this kind of detail is where this paint is going to go. And yeah, give her a nice old coat of this paint. Now, keep in mind that the rule applies again that usually applying lighter paint onto darker paint, the darker paint will overpower it and it will show through. So you're gonna have to give this one a couple of coats again. I'd recommend you do anyways. You don't have to if you're okay with the little bit of bleed through, but for me, I know I most definitely am going to give it a couple of coats. And just like that, one section is done. Make sure that there's no overhang, because if there's a lot of overhang, oh, that looks mighty ugly. So just gotta make sure that you give it one good old clean go around. There's no excess paint, and then move on to the next piece, making sure that the underside doesn't touch anything else. For these pieces over here, I don't think you have to worry too much, because they do essentially stand up on themselves, or they do stand up themselves with the fins, but it's always better to be safe than sorry, because you never know. Okay. Okay, now that we got all those pieces taken care of, now we move on to the chin and the petals area now. Now, for me, the most important part to get is going to be the chin. So I'm going to focus on that first, then I'm going to move on to the petals afterwards. Now we're gonna go give those a minute to dry, and we're gonna move on to the teeth and the fingernails, which are gonna be this white color above anything else. Just a little dab of white here. Take the smallest brush you have, and then we're gonna start with the teeth here in a minute. We're gonna start with the teeth here. So let's open up the jaw as wide as we can in order to get in there. And then we're gonna see these right here. We're going to just very gently brush white paint on them, so they show white. That's it. That's all we're gonna do for the teeth. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just need a steady handle, or else it is possible you can mess it up just a bit. So just take a breath and then make sure your hand is steady before you go in there, and you just start applying the paint on the teeth. Tiamat. Make sure you have a good brush. If not, your brush will go all over the place, and that's not something great. Okay, but we have the bottom row for Tiamat done. Got a little bit of that white paint on the tongue. That's not a big deal. Now we just got to focus on the top teeth over here for Tiamat. Then we're almost done. Need a little more white paint. Alrighty. So plain simple old white paint. Take that. Look for Tiamat's teeth at the top and apply the white paint to her teeth. Like so. Nice and easy. You're gonna have to move the tendril out of the way. Her whiskers, sorry. And just apply that white paint right there. Okay. Should get the underside over here too. Alright, same thing on the other side here. And there we go, just like that. We have Tiamat's teeth pretty much finished here. Pretty neat. We may have to go back over with the white paint for these pink areas, because it's not quite showing enough. It's more so showing a little bit of pink through the white. So let's go back over that again. Then yeah. Make sure not to have too much paint on that brush though, or else you will lose that detail that Playmates work so hard to put in for Tiamat here. Alright, we can leave Tiamat's teeth alone for now, right there. Got her teeth done. Let's see if the camera would pick it up, yeah. Doesn't quite show as well as I'd like, but they are still there, the teeth. Okay, now you're gonna take, now for Tiamat's eyes, you're gonna take a gold, whatever gold you have, whatever gold paint you have here. For me, I have this metallic gold paint. Take a little bit of that. Take our handy dandy small brush here. Okay. And we're just gonna paint in the eyes, this gold paint. like so. Do the same thing for the other side here. Okay. You're gonna have Tiamat's eyes pretty much done there. Then we're gonna give that a minute to dry. And then for me, while we wait for this to dry, I'm gonna give this guy a second coat of that white paint on the underbelly and the petals. And I will be back in a second because I don't want to have to make you guys sit through that. So I will be back in a second. Okay, so this is my fault. I did forget to record this part, but what I am doing right now is I'm adding a bit of highlights to the whiskers for Tiamat here by using that trusty old beige paint and just applying it on like so, taking my finger and resting it up against the whisker, that way when I paint it I don't get anything else dirty. But yeah, I'm just adding highlights to these whiskers over here for Tiamat. Where the red part ends is where the beige part will begin. And then for the tops of these over here, at least the very tips, from what I saw from the Dope Pope concept art, is that there's little highlights for the tips of Tiamat over here, like so. So highlights like this. I'm probably going to be doing it for all of them. Might skip some. I'm debating on skipping some, honestly, because I know that just look lazy. But I am going to put quite a bit on each of them, so yeah. Now those are just ideas for you guys. If you guys want to use them or not, you guys do not have to. That's just something I'm going to do because that's what I'm going off of, is the Dope Pope concept art for Tiamat. And they have these little highlights for the tips of Tiamat's fins here, so that's what I'm going to be going off of. And I think it adds a little extra depth to Tiamat, so I think that's a cool thing, and that's why I'm going to add them on. I'm also going to add toenail paint, which is going to be the same paint as the tendrils over here. Just add a little bit on the toenails and then alright, so we're just about almost done with Tiamat here. I'm going to give her a second to dry. Then I'm going to jump into the finishing details, and where I'm going to add a little bit of that burgundy over here on her fins. And then I'm also going to give her pupils and then touch up the tongue a little bit because I know I got some paint on the tongue and the roof of the mouth. Then after that, we'll be just about done with Tiamat. Alright, for Tiamat's fins over here, I'm going to add this pink or this burgundy around the edge of the fins, like so. Just like that, right where the petals are all perforated, I guess you can say. Where they fan out. That is where I'm going to add the paint, just like so. And it's hopefully going to give this kind of glowing effect is what I'm going for. I do also know that for the Dope Pope art that there is this eye in the middle of it. However, I am not quite as talented as to do that, so I'm going to be selling for this for Tiamat here. I'm just going to be doing that. Even on the edge of these petals, I'm going to be giving a little bit of that paint too. With a little bit of bleed over, but just a little bit. That's just my little signature touch for Tiamat here. That little bleed over there. Yeah. You know what? Sometimes in life you just gotta kind of say screw it and just kind of go for it, which is exactly what I did just now in putting in that little shading over there for Tiamat, which I think the effect made it that much greater. So I'm happy how this turned out, honestly. I think that's the only part I need to touch up with this burgundy color, besides the tendrils here, which got a little messed up over here. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, that should be it for that color. There we go, we got our petals done. Now to fix up her gums on the inside of the mouth there. Teeth should, may need to touch up the teeth just a tad bit. But that's not a big deal. Just a little touch of white. Should be just fine. There we go. All right, for the inside of the mouth here, let's use our fine tip brush to go in because we already painted the teeth, so we do not want to mess up the teeth anyway, in any way. Okay, let's go in, and so we're just going to go in and paint the tongue with this pink here, just like that. As well as these parts over here. See how Tiamat has these parts here where the connects the mouth. Yeah, gotta give those a good old repaint just to be safe. That's that for the pink paint. Ooh, a little too much pink paint over there. And then I'm going to go over with the white really quick again, down for the teeth. Make sure the teeth are all good and dandy. Then I'm going to go over with this. I'm going to go over the white for the teeth one more time just to make sure the teeth are all good and ready to go. We don't have to fix them over again. Especially the bottom row here. Most definitely the top row here. Make sure we don't miss a thing. Alrighty. Teeth are done. I'm going to give the toenails another one more touch up just to be safe. That double coat there. Now, with everything pretty much done, here comes the complicated part of adding in the pupil for the eyes for Tiamat, which I like to add in the pupils for figures using a needle or using the tip or the back part of a needle. I'll just take our needle here. I do not recommend this for anyone who's an amateur at this, whose first time this is. But I take the needle, I dip the tip of it in this black paint here, and then I just apply the paint to the eye, like so. Although for Tiamat, I don't think she really needs a pupil, so we'll just kind of leave it like that. And if I feel fit later on, I might honestly just add in a red pupil instead of the yellow. But honestly, even looking at the concept art, Tiamat doesn't really have any pupil. So I think I might just leave it like this. But yeah, anyways, I am done painting Tiamat right now. If you guys want to add more details on her, like if you want to especially add in the face detail, if you want to add in the details for when she goes bioluminescent, sorry, fumbling my words today. If you want to add in the detail where she goes bioluminescent, you can do that as well. But for me, I am just about done painting Tiamat. I'm going to give her another spray of clear coat, and then I'm going to assemble her, and then we get to see what the finished product looks like. And we get to see it together. Alright guys, welcome back. I hope you guys are all completed with painting your Tiamat figures. Now for the moment of truth, time for us to put Tiamat all back together again. So I'm going to start with the head here, which, by the way, disclaimer, I did end up painting in the pupils here because it just felt wrong leaving them out. So I did end up painting in the pupils. That's about all I changed. Now I'm going to take Tiamat's head here and then plug her. I think this is the right, nope, almost put on the wrong one. Just take her head here, start plugging her together. All right. Ooh. Okay. It's working nicely. Let's just keep on going. Huh. All right. Okay, that one went on pretty easily. So did that one. Now for the last two segments. Man, with the clear coat, it kind of went on a little more difficult than I had hoped it would. But moment of truth here. I mean, just wow, we have a actual fully painted Tiamat figure here. I mean, like, just wow. Yeah, this is Tiamat. Straight up, this is Tiamat, and I am really happy with how this figure ended up turning out personally, especially with the colors from, ooh, that's a bummer. So one thing with these custom paint jobs, especially like this, is that the paint may rub off if you don't apply the clear coat properly. So this might be a figure that just kind of sits on my shelf after one figure video maybe. But yeah, I am really happy with how she turned out though. I mean, just look at this beauty. Like, for these colors for Tiamat compared to this, it's a very big change, very big difference. Not to say that this is a bad, because it's a kid's toy. What we got was I loved what we got. However, for a movie accurate Tiamat, sometimes you have to do it yourself. Anyways, though, this has been ChanZilla1964. with episode 2 of Painting with ChanZilla. I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys did like this video, do be sure to hit the thumbs up button down below. And if you guys think I may have missed something, or if you guys think I could have done something a little differently, especially with the colors or with the whole process, do let me know in the comment section down below. Even though, again, these figures that you customize are your own, so make it your own. This video is here not as a tutorial, but as a guide to show you what you can do. And if you do want to do that, by all means. But if you want to use this as a jumping off point and then you go nuts on your own, that's even more power to you. And if you like what you see on the channel, do be sure to hit that subscribe button. And Bandai or YMSF, I hope you're listening. I hope you make a Tiamat figure one day, because even though it's reminiscent to Manda, it is not Manda, and it is in fact more badass creature than Manda with all the fins and everything going on. That's just my personal opinion. I really like it, and with the justice that YMSF was able to do with Manda, I can't wait to see what they might do with Tiamat, or even some of the other Monsterverse Titans. Anyways though, this has been ChanZilla1964 saying that I hope you like this video, and until next time guys, peace.